So yeah, I like FPSs. What can I say? There's nothing like the rush of hunting people down and killing them. I mean, my heart's beating, my hands are shaking, but I'm still shooting, and I'm still getting the headshots. It's like boom, headshot, boom, headshot, boom, headshot.
Welcome back to another episode of DwreckTV. I'm Dwreck. And I want to talk about something that kind of been brewing in my head for quite some time. And I think it's a good way to put it into video form because a lot of people ask me like how I got my video game systems, how many video game systems do I have, and which ones I've had since day one and which ones I've had since like if I got off eBay or at a pawn shop or what have you. So today's video, I'm going to be talking about my history with video game consoles. And I'm going to start off with, at first I wanted to do it with like just Nintendo, just PlayStation, just Xbox and Sega and everything else. Then I thought I was like, I'm a talk about them and the years that they came out and things like that. So that being said, let's talk about first on the list. We're going to talk about Atari. The Atari 2600. The Atari 2600 came out 1977. I was not alive when this came out, but I have played the Atari with one of my mom's best friends. She had an Atari, and I think she had either a ColecoVision or an Intellivision, one of them two. And they also had like the wheel for it. I might have been a ColecoVision, and I could be wrong, but that's just what I remember. But I do remember playing the Atari. I remember playing Donkey Kong and Haunted House and a couple others. I got this Atari about a couple years ago. I want to say like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. It works, and I also have to put it on this little bad boy just to play it on the TV. But other than that, the Atari is it's pretty fun for what it was. You know, it was very comparatively speaking to what I played and everything. It's kind of primitive, but it's a good time when I feel like it. Now, we're going to be talking about what came after that because everybody knows the video game crash of 1983 and Atari bared a lot of systems and a lot of games that contributed to the video game crash around 1983, and everybody knows the story about the burial in the New Mexico desert landfill, what have you. Then, after a while, about a couple years later, Nintendo brought over the Famicom to America, and they revamped it and renamed it to what we call Nintendo Entertainment System. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself too much because I already talked about the NES and my top 10 games for each of them, but like I said, this is my original NES. My dad got it from a Service Merchandise because I always thought it was from Woolsworth, but according to my parents, it was from Service Merchandise. We had the orange gun, not the gray one. So that being said, I had this since I was 4 or 5 years old. If the Action Set with the orange gun came out around April '89, we must have got ours like around Octoberish. I could be wrong, but that's just what I remember because I do remember playing Mario Brothers with Duck Hunt with it, and Mario Brothers 2, Mario Brothers 3, and Ninja Turtles, the arcade game on it, and we had a blast with it. But yeah, Nintendo. Next, out came the Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis came out in August '89, but I didn't really think about it, or never really occurred to me until like 1991. But when I think of Sega Genesis, I think of my cousin DK in Mississippi, because he had the Sega Genesis, and he had like Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I want to say Desert Strike and Sonic Spinball. He didn't really have that many games, but when we always go to their house in Mississippi, this was always something to look forward to play the Sega Genesis. Because I did like Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic Spinball was alright. And Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was definitely like one of my most played Sega Genesis games ever. But also some friends of mine had the Sega Genesis, and it was always one of them things where if you wanted to play Sega Genesis, I'd go to my friend's house or my cousin DK in Mississippi. But if they wanted to play Super Nintendo, they'd come to my house. So it was always that thing with between Nintendo and Sega within my relatives and friends and everything. So all the thing about the Genesis does when Nintendo don't and everything, I'd say that was all just a promotional thingy, because I never really knew that many people that was like, you're either Sega or you're with Super Nintendo. It was always like the collaborative thing of like, yeah, you got that? Yeah, let's play it, man. Super Nintendo, you want to play that? Yeah, let's go play it, man. It was always that collaborative thing. I always loved things like that. Next, what came after, what was Nintendo's answer to the Sega Genesis, was the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo came out August '91 with Super Mario World. I didn't get mine until spring '93, because I do remember when we left we had moved out of the NES house, what I call, and we moved into what I call the Super Nintendo house. And then we got the Super Nintendo about maybe 2 or 3 months into living in that house, if I can remember correctly. Because when I first heard of the Super Nintendo, I thought it was pretty cool. And seeing this commercials for Super Mario World, I was like, we gotta play this. But also when it came to the Mario Brothers cartoon, like I've said before, I remember watching Mario Brothers Super Show and the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. I played the games before I watched the cartoon. So with Super Mario World, I watched the cartoon before I played the game. So I kind of had an idea of what Super Mario World was going to be like. But all in all, I think the Super Nintendo is definitely one of my favorite systems. Especially with Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, Earthworm Jim 1 and 2, and like Mega Man X and Mario Kart and all the other games I've played on it. I've already talked extensively about it with my top 10 any Super Nintendo games. But definitely Super Nintendo, fun game, fun system. I never owned the CDI. I never owned a Neo Geo, and I never owned a CDI, Neo Geo, and 3DO. Never had those, never knew about them until like around like maybe 07. I never heard of those systems. I never knew anybody that had them. Not even a Sega CD or a Sega 32X. As a matter of fact, maybe one of my friends had the Sega CD or Sega 32X, one of them things. But I never played them. I never knew about them until like years and years later. But what I did hear about was something called PlayStation. When I heard of PlayStation, me and my family and one of my oldest sister's friends, we all went to a family vacation in Tennessee. And she was talking about this thing called PlayStation. And at first, I was 11 years old by this time. I thought she was talking about something like a celebration station, like a place where you go. And she was saying, no, it's not like that. It's a video game console that you play. You play with CDs. And at first I was like, okay. But then when PlayStation started coming around, especially with Crash Bandicoot, I was like, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. But I was solely on Nintendo 64 by this time. And then my cousin Max and Roy, they had the PlayStation. My best friends Robert and Duke had the PlayStation. My cousin DK in Mississippi had the PlayStation. And one of my friends, Alex Mendocino, he had the PlayStation. So almost everybody I knew had the PlayStation except me. I was on the Nintendo 64. But I would have to say this: the PlayStation was definitely a very fun system when I would go play with their and my friends and relatives. But I didn't get a PlayStation until I got this PlayStation off of eBay. I want to say about maybe 2 years ago, because when I had gotten a PlayStation 2, I started getting like PlayStation 1 games as well. So that's how I was always able to play my PS1 games on my PS2. But that was until like I said, a couple years ago, I wound up getting a PlayStation 1 because I wanted to play it on that I wanted to play the PS1 games on the authentic hardware. And it's definitely a big difference between them. But yeah, PlayStation was a very fun system. I really like it. And there were some games like I know Crash Bandicoot, I always wanted to play them when I was a teenager. Tomb Raider was everywhere. Gex the Gecko was everywhere. The Mega Man X games like X4, that's probably one of my favorite ones on there. But the one game, actually two games, that when I saw the commercials to them, I was like, I would get a PlayStation just for these games. It was Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, and Wild 9. When I saw the commercials to those, I was like, I gotta play these. These look awesome. And I did wind up getting them, and they're just as I expected. They were awesome. Except Oddworld was definitely tough. But Wild 9, awesome. But PlayStation 1, definitely an awesome system. And they also celebrated their 30th anniversary, so happy anniversary. Next up is the system that I had was the Nintendo 64. This is my original. I got it Christmas 96, and it was a hoot. I wasn't, like I said in my old video, I wasn't one of them kids that was like going freaking ape shit when they got it for Christmas 96. When I got it, I was like, oh yeah. Like, it's on. Oh yeah. But definitely the N64 was absolutely a fun system, a very fun time as well. Especially in a time when it was N64 and PlayStation. Everybody was going back and forth on it, like which one was better, N64 or the PlayStation. I would say each one of them, I was telling my cousin Max this like a few years ago. Each system has their own advantages and disadvantages. The N64 had the advantage because they still had the cartridges, and when you put a game on, it loads up real fast. And a lot of graphics were very smooth for some games. But the disadvantages on it didn't have like CD quality sound. It didn't have CD quality there wasn't no like OVAs. That's what it is. OVAs. Like they didn't have like that crispy clean like motion videos and everything, like some that you would see on a Sega CD and everything, or they didn't have like no hugely cinematic sequences and everything, as opposed to the PlayStation, the advantages of the PlayStation was like the games were incredible. A lot of the graphics were pretty good, and you can actually play. One of the things that really sold me on it was you can play music CDs on this. This could act as a CD player on your TV screen. That was incredible. And the games on it were so huge and everything. It was almost like watching like an interactive movie on some of these games. But the disadvantages of a PlayStation was when there was a scratch on the CD, it would barely play. And some of the graphics on it were like kind of gritty, but it added to that charm to the PlayStation. Like, for example, like say WWF Attitude. Let's use that as an example. On the N64, WWF Attitude, it ran a lot faster. The graphics are a lot smoother. But the disadvantages was they didn't have a lot of voice clips. The entrance music on it was kind of chopped down a little bit, and they didn't have a lot of like those creator wrestler songs on them. As opposed to the PlayStation 1, they had a lot more voice clips. They had all the songs on it. You could create a whole bunch of people, but the disadvantages of it was when you create a whole bunch of people and you want to have them on the screen, it loads very slow. Very slow loading. But once you get them on, it's like you better hope that this thing doesn't break. That happened a couple of times. One of my cousin DK in Mississippi, he had the game, and I was creating a whole bunch of people and almost broke his system because I was trying to get all the people on the screen at the same time. But definitely a fun system, very fun time. Never forget it. Then, I never owned the Sega Saturn. I never knew to anybody that owned the Sega Saturn, but if there was one system that I didn't own but I wouldn't mind getting now, would definitely be a Sega Saturn. But Sega Saturn, like I said, never owned it and everything, and they are like stupid expensive to try to find. I could probably get one at a RetroCon next time they come down, but Sega Saturn games on eBay and everything, oh my goodness. You gotta save up some bank for some of those games. And you gotta also make sure that they're not like Japanese versions, because I really don't feel like buying a Japanese Sega Saturn just to play some games. But I did get this one, and that is what celebrated its 25th anniversary this year, the Sega Dreamcast. Like I've said before, I have very limited experience with the Sega Dreamcast because my cousin DK, he had this, and he had a few games, especially Sonic Adventure. And when I played Sonic Adventure when I was 15 years old, it blew my mind. That was one of them games that really genuinely blew my mind, because I was so used to playing games like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie and all the other games on the N64. So when I jumped into the Dreamcast, it blew my mind. I was absolutely fascinated with this thing. And the whole promotion with whole $99.99, that was everywhere when the Dreamcast was coming out, because that was like their promotional slogans. September 9th, 1999, that's when the Dreamcast was coming out. Everywhere. But I got this Dreamcast about I want to say about 11 years ago. 11 or 12. And I wound up getting got a whole bunch of games for it. There's still some games I want to get for it. Like Sonic Adventure was a must-have. And Crazy Taxis and all them other ones that I got. But as quick as the Sega Dreamcast came out was as fast as it left. And I think it's a shame that this system only lasted like a year and a half before it bit the dust. But definitely a fun system. It was also one of the first systems that I've ever knew about going online. Like, what? You can go on the internet with this thing? Especially at that time, like the internet was just starting to become a thing. Especially where I was living and everything. But like you could actually go online with this thing. Like, and it also had the whole Microsoft Windows on it, so you can go online. You can go on the internet with this thing, like go on websites and everything. That was like unheard of. That was incredible. Then a couple years later, what killed the Sega Dreamcast was definitely like pirating and everything, and Sega's bad reputation with the Sega Saturn and everything, and all their stuff that they came out with in the 1990s. But definitely, it was definitely the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2, I will say this. This was the first non-Nintendo system I had ever got. It came out in October 2000. I didn't get mine until I got mine Christmas 2001. I would have to say, and I've been wanting to hold this off for a future video, but I gotta say it right now. My father was the one that was convincing me to get a PlayStation 2. And when we got it, bro, the things, the games, everything about it just blew everything away. This was absolutely fantastic, this system. The first game I got wanted was Grand Theft Auto 3. I didn't know if I was going to like it, but when I played Grand Theft Auto 3, it didn't just blow my mind. It freaking expanded the entire world. Like, it just absolutely it exploded everything I thought I knew and everything that I thought would exist, and it just spread it out everything. And especially being everybody's first DVD player. Yes, this was my first DVD player as well. But absolutely, this PlayStation 2, like, if you was a teenager, like a 15, 16-year-old teenager in the early 2000s, you had to have the PlayStation 2. Not just for the games, but also it was you play your PlayStation 1 games, and you can play DVDs on it and CDs. This was a freaking banger. This was it. You had this. This was it. You can play PlayStation 1, PS2 games, DVDs, and music CDs. This was it. When you was a teenager in the 2000s, this was it. And all the games that they had for it was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And definitely probably one of my favorite systems. And I thank my father for it too, because he knows his stuff. He knows excellence when he sees it. Then after that came out the Nintendo GameCube. What more can I say about this thing that I have not said already? The GameCube came out November 2001. I didn't get mine until Christmas 2002, about a year after it came out. But at the same time we was playing the PlayStation 2, my friend Karshley, he had the PS2 and he had the GameCube. We was playing, like I've said before, we've always had sleepovers at his house and everything. We played Smash Brothers Melee, Luigi's Mansion, and also SmackDown, Just Bring It, and GTA 3, and Devil May Cry. Days that I will never forget, I cherish deeply. But the GameCube, I got mine, like I said, Christmas 2002. It was fun. And like like I've said before, my first GameCube got struck by lightning in April 2004-ish. I know it was like before I graduated. And then when I got a job, I wound up getting another GameCube. The second GameCube I actually got was a silver one, because the indigo one was hard to find. It was always the silver one and the black one. So I was like, I don't want to get the silver one, but what choice do I have? And then about sometime later, I went to a GameStop to get a Wavebird controller, because I thought it was pretty cool to have a wireless controller. And right when I was about to pay them, I saw on the shelf behind them the indigo GameCube. And then I was like, immediately like, I want to get that. And it's like, okay. And I've had it ever since. But definitely GameCube, fun system. I absolutely love it. And now, continue on with that generation, is Xbox. So ever since the Sega dropped out of the console war, and out came Microsoft with Xbox. This is my wife's Xbox. She had it, I want to say she had it like midway through its lifespan. But as teenagers, when the name Xbox started coming around, and what it looked like and what it was going to be presenting and everything, everybody in high school was like, what's this Xbox? We don't know what it is. Some people were excited. Some people were like against it. It was very polarizing. The Xbox was very polarizing from back in high school. But to the people that played it, they say they absolutely loved it. At first, I thought about getting an Xbox, but I already had the PS2 and the GameCube, so it was like, all right. But some of my friends had it. My cousin Roy, he had it, the Xbox, and it was very fun. He had Halo, he had a couple other games I know, and I think he had like the MX versus ATV games, and they also had Soul Calibur 2 with Spawn. I thought that was pretty cool. And that was one of the things that I absolutely loved about this generation, with the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, especially with games like Soul Calibur 2, how they had exclusive characters on them. So it's like, if you want to play this game, you want to play Spawn, you got to play it on the Xbox. You want to play Link, get on the GameCube. Play Heihachi, you get on the PlayStation 2. I like things like that. They need to make something. They need to make exclusivities like that again. Give you something to look forward to. But definitely the Xbox, very fun system. Even though it's like another version of the PlayStation 2, because they had a lot of the same games on them, but it just played differently. I like the main menu to it. And this was also one of the things where, as like I've said before, you could put songs on the hard drive. That blew me away, because if you want to play like a Need for Speed or a wrestling game on it, you can put the songs on the console and you can play it through the game. That was like, whoa! That can actually do that. Wow! And everybody was making a big deal out of about playing online with this thing. I was like, that's actually a pretty cool concept. Not really too much on online play, but I thought that was a cool concept that they could have. Halo was a big deal. I remember everybody talking about Halo and everything. They either loved it or they absolutely hated it, but Halo is actually pretty cool in my book. I played both of them, especially with my wife, because she loves Halo, she loves Mech Assault, she loves Doom, and the Lord of the Rings games on it, and Prince of Persia. My wife was telling me a lot about the Xbox. And then whenever we got together, she brought her Xbox, and I wound up buying some games for her and some games on the Xbox I always wanted to play. But I'll leave that one for another day. But definitely the Xbox, it's freaking heavy too. You can knock somebody out with this thing. Compared to like the NES. I don't know, I always wanted to do this. Holy crap! It's freaking bigger than the NES. Look at this shit. My goodness. Well, it's about the same height, but definitely this is like, this is light compared to this thing. Yeah, Xbox, good system in my book, and it's definitely what I've always said. The Xbox was what I called adrenaline junkies paradise, because everything in that during that time, there was like X was everywhere. There was like the X games. Everything was extreme with the X. Everything was extreme. Everything with especially TNA had the X Division and the Ultimate X. Like X was everywhere, and Xbox was definitely. And also what I call the Xbox, the Dreamcast 2, because that was when Dreamcast, the Sega wanted to put Dreamcast, make the Xbox backwards compatible with Dreamcast games at one point. That would have been cool. But definitely, I play Sonic games on the Xbox for most point. I don't play Sonic games on the PlayStation because that's what killed the Sega and now the Xbox. Next, what came after all this? Give me a second, y'all. Next up is what came Xbox 360. Xbox 360 came out November 2005 to a big, festive, absolutely fantastic presentation and launch date. Xbox 360 was like the talk of the town. The graphics on it, absolutely fantastic. You can play it on the side, you can play it standing up. This thing was cool. This thing was absolutely cool. But I got my Xbox 360 around March 2008. Man, it was I have got it from GameStop. But what held me off from getting an Xbox 360 was, of course, everybody knows Red Ring of Death. And everybody was saying like, oh, Red Ring of Death's gonna kill the Xbox and everything. And I kind of had that notion as well, but I was like, but I really want to play this thing, because I was being here like not only can you add songs from CDs on this thing, you can actually do burnt CDs. That was because on the original Xbox you can only just do like real CDs and not burnt ones, but you can do it with the burnt CDs on this thing. So that was like a big mind-blowing concept that I could customize a whole bunch of a lot of things on this thing now compared to how it was on the original Xbox. But this Xbox, this is actually my second one, because my first one really did get a red ring and I was pissed. And this is the arcade version, because I was a cheap ass at that point, but it still works. This is my original. I still got the hard drive, so I was able to beef up the memory to it. But definitely the Xbox 360, very fun system. I really like it. This was probably my favorite non-Nintendo system was the Xbox 360, because they had a lot of great games on it. Especially like I remember playing like Dead Space on it, and I was so worried about not getting a red ring. I used to have my room, the same room that I was in that started DwreckTV. That's also around the time I was starting DwreckTV as well. And I would play Dead Space with my AC unit at 55 degrees. I was bundled up like an Eskimo playing Dead Space and my Xbox 360 games. I was freaking freezing my ass off playing these games just to make sure that this thing doesn't overheat. But I loved it. Xbox 360, very fun system. And then what came after was Nintendo Wii. Nintendo Wii came out November 2006. I didn't get my I didn't get my Wii until May 2008, almost a year and a half after, because this thing was so sought after. It was so sought after. It was absolutely impossible unless you pre-ordered it. It was damn near impossible to find this in stores. Absolutely impossible, because just when they start coming in, they would all automatically get sold out. You think the PlayStation 5 wasn't possible to find? This was just as bad. But in its defense, kind of glad that it did come out. I'm kind of glad I did get it kind of earlier, well later, because a lot of the games started coming out, like Mario Galaxy, Mario Kart, and Smash Brothers, and a few others. But definitely the Wii. I remember seeing it when it was originally gonna be called the Revolution. I was like, yeah, the Revolution's gonna be cool, man. But then I read in the newspaper that it was gonna be called Wii, and I was like, wait a minute, wasn't this supposed to be called the Revolution? Okay, I don't really care for the name Wii, but it is what it is. And when I did get the Wii and everything, it was fun. It was a very fun system, despite the overabundance of shovelware games. To me, it felt like a souped up GameCube. Like, it just felt like this was what they wanted the GameCube to be at first, graphic wise and everything, graphic and power wise, because a lot of the graphics on the Wii just felt like a continuation of how the GameCube was, as opposed to like the super ultra graphics on the 360 and the PS3 would be. But absolutely, the Wii was a fun system. I really like it. The motion controls was a very cool concept, and a lot of games that I've stated on my top 10 list was definitely one of the best games on the system. So if you ever want to get like a Wii, get one. And if you want recommendations of the games to get and stay away from the shovelware, go check out my top 10. This is all piling up now. And next in that generation was another hefty motherfucker. That is PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 came out around the same time as the Wii came out. I didn't get my PlayStation 3 until when did I get my PS3? I want to say it was like late 2008 going into 2009. Definitely. I know it was like around the same time that I was just starting DwreckTV. So this was definitely like late 2008 going into 2009 I got a PS3. At first I didn't think about wanting to get one, but guess who was talking me into it? My father. My father was the one that was talking to me again to play PS3, because you could play Blu-ray movies, because Blu-rays were like a big thing during that time, and the PS3 could play DVDs and Blu-ray movies. So I was like, okay, I'll try. We'll get one. And I'm actually glad that we did get it, because this was a fun system too, and it had like the Uncharted games and Batman Arkham Asylum and Enslaved and the Mortal Kombat game. But definitely the PS3 was definitely a good continuation, and the graphics for them games were absolutely fantastic. This PS3, this model can play PS1 games, but it cannot play PS2 games. Yeah, how's that work? But I'm glad that I still have my old systems and everything. And this was also one of the first consoles that I actually went online with to get a DLC and everything. And I never got online with the Xbox. I never got like DLCs from it, because I don't like to pay for a service. But the PS3 service was actually free, and I can go in and buy like DLCs and everything. And it was actually a very cool, very seamless concept and a very seamless process. But the one thing that pissed me off with the PS3 was the updating. My God. There were times where it felt like it was updating for 2 hours. What are you doing, Mittens? Yeah, Mittens is right here in front of the camera. No, don't knock it down. Don't. Oh, shit. But yeah, the PS3 was plagued with updates because, and the updates just was so long. There was, like I said, one almost felt like it was for like 2 hours just to update this thing, and that really pissed me off. Like, why does a system have to update itself, you know? But other than that, the PS3 was a very fun system. Very, very slick. I love these fonts. I love the that Spider. How everybody says the Spider-Man 3 fonts. I love that. I really do. And then after that came out. Y'all give me a second. All right. The next up that came out was the Nintendo Wii U. When the Wii U was announced, I thought I didn't like the name at first, but then I was like, okay, Wii U, all right. But what kind of upsetted me about the name was because we just spent 6 years on the name Wii, and I was like, I just want to be away from the name Wii. Like, I was just so tired of it. But the concept of the Wii U, I absolutely loved it. If it was called anything else, it would have been great. I used to call it the Nintendo U, but I just wanted to call it Wii U after a while. But the touchscreen controller, I absolutely loved it, that concept. I thought it was so cool. And I pre-ordered my Wii U. This is my original day one Wii U that I got from GameStop. I went for the midnight release and everything. And me and my wife, this was back when we first started dating, because we dated. We got together in 2010, so we were still playing. I was still playing the Wii, but me and her, we got this together. We played New Super Mario Brothers U together. That was like one of the first few games that we beat together, and it was absolutely a fun time. Everybody wants to talk shit about the Wii U, but I have no ill words against the Wii U. Because this thing was the life of the party, especially when the kids were starting to get a little older, like when they was like 5, 6, 7, and 4 and everything. They absolutely loved the Wii U. So I got no hate against it. I got no bad words to say about the Wii U. One thing I'll say about the Wii U, it was the life of the party. That's all. That's what this was. Anybody else that wants to talk shit about this thing, y'all didn't have no good experiences with it. Then after that came out the another hefty one. What came after the Xbox 360? Xbox One. Xbox One. I got this. It came out November 2013. I pre-ordered this and I got it day one. I waited in the blistering cold for about a good 3 hours to get this thing. And I said, never again am I going to do this, something like this. Try to keep it clean and everything, but my goodness, this thing attracts so much dust. But the Xbox One, I remember it coming out. I remember when it was first announced, and they was saying something about like it's always online, especially with that camera, always online and everything, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And then they started easing off on and everything, but the Xbox One, it kind of like Xbox One just felt like, I don't know. Like, I wanted to like it. It had some cool games on it that I got some good games for it. But after a while, like, it pissed me off because the hard drive on this thing had so much. It had like 500 gigabytes and everything. But what pissed me off about it was you had to install the game from the disc like, what's going on here? Like, on the Xbox 360, you put the game in there, it starts up, and you have your save files on the hard drive. But for something like this, you got to install the game on the hard drive, and as well as the save states. And these games are like 50 gigs, 90 gigs. After a while, they start adding up. I was like, oh, fuck this shit. I'm not about to, like, I got 6 games on this thing and it's already at like close to max. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh, hell no. And then I gotta buy like external hard drives for this thing just to, oh, fuck this shit. That was like one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Was having to have a game install, wait like 20 minutes or so just for it to install, and then have to update and everything. Like, what the fuck? So I know external hard drives aren't that expensive and everything, but come on. They can't have like memory cards or anything for these things. Like memory cards or freaking just having it to where you can just save the save states, like your save files on the hard drive, and not have to like install the game just so you can play better. Get the fuck out of here, people. But other than that, the Xbox One's alright. And then at the same time when that came out, it was the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 came out about a week after or a week before the Xbox One. And I didn't get mine until, I want to say around my birthday in 2018. My wife got me this for my birthday. And it actually runs smooth. It's very smooth. I really like the PlayStation 4. Like, it's just like it plays almost like the Xbox One, except it's a lot smoother. And the games on it are really cool. I like the Uncharted 4 and Fire Pro Wrestling World, which I still play to this day. And a few other games were really cool on it, like the Ratchet and Clank and the Ninja Turtles, Mutants of Manhattan, and Transformers Devastation. Absolute bangers. And the PlayStation 4 itself, like, getting DLCs for it is pretty cool and everything. This, you want to know something funny? This thing looks like an eraser. Like a big old eraser. But definitely the PlayStation 4, I think, we got the 1 terabyte. So I can still add games to this thing. Like, I still don't like the fact that you guys install the game on the hard drive and everything. But I was like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. But having a 1 terabyte, it helps. I really like it. And they should have had that for the Xbox One to begin with. You know? And not only that, they need to stop making these games so freaking huge and so freaking big for its own good. These games are big for their own good. Just have it to where it's like having enough on the game CD, put it in, save, have it to where you can have your save data on it. And also, they need to bring back memory cards. Because, my God, having to tow your console back and forth to a friend's house and everything just to play your version of the game and everything, it's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. And then, here we go. Final stop. We got the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch. I pre-ordered it. I got it day one. I've had it ever since. The Switch is very fun. I really like it. I really like the Switch. I like the games on it. I got nothing bad to say about it. The Mario games on it were good. Me and my wife, we played Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on it, and we beat it together. And Mario Odyssey was great. both Kirby games were great. Mega Man 11 and Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is an absolute delight. There's a few games that I wouldn't mind getting for it, but definitely the Switch is a fun system. I like playing it mostly on the TV screen as opposed to the handheld. And then next up, this freaking beast right here. Ugh. PlayStation 5. My God. This is absolutely one of the biggest systems I've ever seen in person. It towers over the Xbox 360. I was like, what the fuck? I mean, look at this shit. You stand up, but I think it's pretty cool too how you can stand it up like this. They're like that, like my God. And then the Xbox 360. Look at this shit. It's like right here. Like this thing overtowers it. But definitely PlayStation 5 came out during COVID time, and it was absolutely impossible to find. Absolutely. And like more impossible to find than the Wii. But I got mine from the Facebook market, to tell you the truth. Because me and my wife, we saved up for a PS5 for like a good 5 months. And then someone on the Facebook market was selling one, and he was local. So I was talking with the dude, and we met up and made the money exchange, and he gave me the system. And when I powered it up, everything was going good. Like everything is perfect. This is an actual good PS5. But definitely the PS5, it's a very cool system. It's freaking heavy. It's freaking heavy. You can play your PS4 games on it, and playing Fire Pro on this thing as opposed to the PS4, it just runs smooth and fast. As opposed on the PS4, how it's kind of slow and it crashed like a lot of times. But on the PS5, but definitely some of the games on it are just like how you see for the last couple of generations, how the games just feel like almost the same. But definitely PS5, it is a fun system. There's like a few other games I really want to get for it. It's very fun. Ugh. But if you want to get a PS5, I recommend it. But it's freaking huge. Look at this thing. It's a freaking beast. Look, here's a better comparison, comparatively speaking, to a Xbox 360. Ugh. Look at this. It freaking overtowers it. And I thought this was a tall system. My God. See. And now, the last system that I got is, I gotta be careful with this thing, is the Xbox Series X. And this thing, it gets fingerprints on it very, very easy. The Xbox Series X, it's a fun system, but to me it feels like a souped up Xbox One. I was kind of underwhelmed on it, but the games that they got on it was pretty cool. I like playing Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Superstars on it. Halo 6 Infinite was a good one, and even AEW was alright, and like MX versus ATV was very fun on it. It's very good. I still have yet to have like a great game on this thing, but we shall see. You want to know something cool too? it fits it. It fits on top of it. But definitely, out of all these systems, I've had a lot of great times with them. Oh, I almost forgot about these. As far as handhelds go, I got the Game Boy. This is my first Game Boy. My uncle got us this for, I want to say, around 1993. I think it was either Christmas or one of my birthdays. And we had Tetris, we had Mario Land and Mario Land 2. And one of my sister's friends, she had some kind of caveman game. I forgot what it was called, but it was a caveman character. But it doesn't work anymore because battery acid got to it. But I'm gonna try to see if I can try to fix this thing. I never had the Game Boy Color. I never had the Sega Game Gear, but my friends Robert and Duke had the Game Gear, and I only played that for a couple of times. Never had the Game Boy Color. I never had the Game Boy Advanced, even though I wanted to get it when I was a teenager because it looked like a handheld Super Nintendo. But one of my friends in high school and my friend Karsh Lee, they had one. I thought it was pretty cool. And I did have the Nintendo DS. I had a DS Lite because I got the DS Lite and I had a new Super Mario Bros. On it. I thought it was a pretty cool system. But my nephews, Chaotic Kid and his brother, Mr. Shotya, I let them borrow it and I never saw it again. Never, ever saw it again. And then I got the 3DS. I got the 3DS at a pawn shop about, if it came out March 2011, I got mine around August, September at a pawn shop. For cheap too, and it works. And then when Mario 3D World came out for it, well, Mario 3D Land, I picked that up and oh shoot, the 3DS was a freaking. I was excited with the 3DS. The games that came out for it, like Mario Kart 7 and Kid Icarus Uprising. Oh, dude, the 3DS, I absolutely love this little thing. My wife also got me the 3DS XL, but I let her borrow it because she likes playing Resident Evil Revelations. And I got my wife the Switch OLED model so she can play her games on them while she's at work. Oh, I love her. But that's my history with these video game consoles. As far as what the future holds for video games, to put it lightly, I have no faith in the video game industry at this moment. I really don't. Because of all the shit that the industry is in and all the people, a lot of the people that's plaguing it and everything, I have no hope for it because it should have never got to this point. It should have never got to this. I would say, and I'm saying this too, as someone that's played video games his entire life, once Nintendo's next console comes out, I'm gonna get that one, and that's where the tracks stop. I'm not getting no PS6. I'm not getting no next Xbox. I'm just gonna be with Nintendo, and that's it. Because I'm tired. I'm exhausted with the amount of just keep going up and up and up and up. And the way everything's just going, everything is all freaking shit. All these freaking companies want to bend the knee to the agendas. And I don't want to sound political on my channel and everything, but I'm just gonna put it lightly like that. I'm fucking tired of that. I'm tired of remakes. I'm tired of re-releases. I'm tired of all these HD remakes and everything. I'm tired of it. I'm done. I'm fucking done. And plus, I got so many games. I don't need no remakes or anything. I got the games right here. And someone actually asked me hey, why don't you get like a PC, or why don't you get one of like little all-in-one consoles, man? Like, no, I'm not getting those. I got these. I got all these freaking consoles. I don't need a mini. I don't need like those little all-in-one thingies. It's no problem. I've said it before. It's no problem for me to hook up one of these consoles to a TV and pick out a game and play them. There's no problem for me like that. Anyone that want to rely on that kind of convenience and everything, I just freaking pity you. Like, y'all got lazy. But other than that, they want to try to conserve space and everything. Like, man, like, oh man, they're too expensive, man. Like, save up your fucking money. Save up your space. You know, I'd rather let my nephews play games on the actual systems as opposed to like a little all-in-one console, or like getting them through like a streaming services and everything. Like, that's for the fucking birds. Get the fuck out of here. Play the freaking games. Play the actual games on the system, you know? But that's what I got to say about these systems. That's what I got to say. But as far as like the future, I have no faith in the future. But we shall see. I'm going to get Nintendo's next system, whatever it's going to be called. And that's going to be it. I'm just going to get the games on that. So, but as far as like buying like older games and everything, yeah, I'll probably do that. But I've gone on way too long. Hey, Mittens. Yeah, Mittens is here. Yeah. But I do plan on doing a top 10 PlayStation games, and for the Xbox as well. Still gotta get a couple more things to do for that, but I will do something like that. So, this is Dwreck signing out. See y'all on the flip side.